welcome back to my channel. My name is Baylee. Today we're gonna switch it up a bit and talk about books that I have DNF'd. And so these are books that I started reading and didn't finish them for whatever reason. Because I've DNF'd them, I do not have any of them. Obviously, I got rid of them. So let's talk about it. All right, I have my little notebook of ones I've DNF'd. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the most recent DNF I've done, and it was the one I unhauled, the Slammerkin. And I kind of talked about it in my unhaul, but I just thought it was extremely, extremely boring. Like at first it was so good, then it just dragged on. It was a really big book, and I just didn't care what happened to her. So I DNF'd that one. Another book I DNF'd was The Hunting Wives by May Cobb. That book is so, I feel like it's pretty popular on BookTube. Like, it's a thriller. It's one of Gabby Reed's favorite thrillers. I love thrillers. And I don't think I've ever DNF'd a thriller. And so I was shocked when I DNF'd that book. But it was just so weird to me. It's about these women. And they have this club called, you know, like they call themselves the Hunting Wives. And so they go out to this cabin. Or it might not be a cabin. But they go out kind of in the woods away from the civilization, and they go shooting like discs, like skeet shooting. Well, then after they're done with that for the night, they go to the bar and they hunt for men, and they're all married, so it's super freaking weird. And some of them are dating or sleeping with younger men. Like I'm pretty sure one of them was with a 17 or 18-year-old, and they're grown-ass women. So I just couldn't. It was just gross to me. And I didn't like it, so I stopped reading it. Even though it was one of Gabby Reed's favorites. And so, I just couldn't care. Another one I DNF'd, which is a little odd, but because everyone loves this book, Where the Crawdads Sing. I think it's Delia Owens. I think it's Delia Owens. It's now a movie, and I do really, really want to watch the movie. And so I started listening to it on audio because everyone talks about it. So I started listening to it. And the audiobook, I just couldn't do it. It was, you know, so the book is based in Louisiana. And so the narrator was speaking in like a Louisiana accent. And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was just driving me nuts to listen to him talk like that. And it was like just in my ear all day because I was listening to it. So I just stopped. I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't listen to him talk to me like that. I was over it. So I stopped. Everyone says it's so good, so like a small part of me wants to read it physically, but there's so many other books I want to read. I don't know if I want to like waste my time trying to read this book when I've tried before and didn't like it. I don't know. I think I'm just going to watch the movie and call that a day. Just say that's good enough. I know what happens. I'll watch the movie. It'll be fine. But I do want to watch the movie. Another book I DNF'd was called Hinch, and I have no idea who that's written by. But this one was about this woman. She works for this, like, it's like a business of henchmen. So it's set in a world with superheroes and villains, and she acts as like an assistant to the villains, like a henchwoman. And they can like contract them out for X amount of times, only one thing they need them to do. It's very confusing, but I thought it would be really cool because it was on the side of someone who was hurt and injured after a superhero, you know, save the world, and, you know, they go through and destroy all these buildings, wreck all these cars, do whatever they want, you know. In, like, movies where superheroes and villains fight, everything is destroyed. And so she was caught in the crosshairs of that, and she got hurt, and she wants a superhero to own up to what he did, which sounds really good, like, from the other perspective on, like, a superhero-villain situation. So she was on the villain side because she wanted to ruin that superhero, which, it just sounds so good, but I just didn't give a shit when I was reading it. I just didn't give a shit. I didn't like her. I don't know. And I was listening to it, and usually audiobooks I can push through because I'm listening and you can listen to them like super, super fast and get them done. But I just could not get myself to finish it. unfortunately. Another one that I DNF'd was called Termination Shock. Don't remember who that's by. There'll be a picture. And I wanted to pick it up because I saw it everywhere and it kind of reminded me of Blake Crouch books. So kind of like a sci-fi thriller situation. And so I wanted to read it. Once again, I listened to it. And then once again, I just did not care at all what was happening to these people. And it was such a slow start. I did not get far at all in that one. And I don't even remember what it was about because I was just so upset that I did not enjoy it because I really had high hopes because I thought it was going to be like a Blake Crouch book. You know how much I love Blake Crouch. Well, it wasn't. Very upsetting. The next one is Mexican Gothic by, I think it's Silvia Moreno Garcia. Everyone talks about that book. Everyone loves it, about like a spooky house, kind of eerie vibes. I kind of just like a Gothic book, hence the word Mexican Gothic. She is, I believe it is a cousin going to visit her cousin, obviously. And she's just like acting really strange, kind of like she's, I don't want to say possessed, but kind of like the husband thinks she kind of is, or they think she's kind of crazy and wants to send her to like an asylum. And so the cousin thinks she might be possessed, or maybe the husband's lying and that's not true. And so she goes down to visit to see what's up because her dad wants to know how she's acting before he puts her in the asylum. So once again, sounds good. It's a very spooky house, very eerie, but I just didn't care. I don't know, I could not get into it. And I listened to that one as well. So, I don't know. Very, and everyone loves that book. Like, everyone talks about it, and I don't know, I could not get into it. Very upsetting when you don't like a book. You know, you think you're gonna love it, and then it's just awful. Okay, I don't want to say it was awful, but it just was not my cup of tea. And she's written a few more books, 2 that I know of, since Mexican Gothic, and they sound good, but I don't want to read them because I didn't like that other one. So we'll see if I ever pick up a book from her. And the last one that I DNF'd is called All Things Cease to Appear. And I read that one, or I tried to read that one. It was an ebook, not an audiobook. But I tried to read that one because they made a Netflix adaptation of it into a movie. The title wasn't the same. I can't remember the Netflix title of it, but I love reading books before I watch the movies or the shows, so I thought, okay, well, I'll read it first and then watch it. It was just written so different. I don't want to say awful, but I just did not like how it was written. There was no quotation marks around conversations, so I was confused the whole time. And there was like the longest like paragraphs ever, longest sentences. I just could not. I hated how it was written, so I just stopped reading it. I did not get very far because I just didn't like how it was written. It was confusing. Once again, it's kind of like about a spooky house. I did watch the movie and it was good. It wasn't the best, but it was good. About this married couple, they move into this house, and they moved in because it was kind of cheaper, but just kind of a haunted, spooky, eerie house. And the woman, like the wife, is the one seeing all these things and kind of realizing this is happening. And we just kind of watch her as she thinks, is she going crazy? Are these things really happening? She's telling her husband, he doesn't believe her. And so the movie is good, but I just did not like how that book was written at all. Well, that is all the books I've DNF'd. I think ever. I do not DNF books. So like if I DNF them, I really, really, really did not like them. Because I will try to push through, and especially if I'm listening, I try to push through them. But these books, I just could not get into it. So I can't recommend any of them at all whatsoever. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.